Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I decided to do a sketch for this card and use my Altenew bold letter dies, and this is going to be a graduation card. Fun story here. I die cut all these letters off screen. However, my original footage for this video accidentally got deleted. My phone got filled up and it accidentally all got deleted. So the thumbnail was the only thing that didn't get deleted. So the pictures in the thumbnail are a little bit different because I had already given those cards to recipients before I refilmed the video. So these are a little bit different because these are just going to go in my stash for cards. And here I am gluing foam to the black letters to make all the little popped up letters on this card, and it's going to say yay 4 times down the slimline card. The Make Art Station and its magnets are very helpful to keep all those glued together so that they stay together while the glue dries. And also I used a little sanding block to get some of the fuzzies off the foam because some of the foam didn't cut very cleanly. So I just used a little sanding block to get the fuzzies off the edge of the foam so it could look as clean as possible. And I tried to speed this up in the editing process to just minimize it as much as possible, but I thought I would have a little story to tell. Alright, and there's the dimensions for the slimline, and I'm scoring the card base for the slimline card. And I'm folding it using my bone folder, which that's an amazing bone folder. And there's the greeting I'm going to use. I'm putting it all in my MISTI and lining the stamp up. And I'm going to stamp that onto the bottom of the card. I want to stamp it first to make sure that when I'm positioning all the big letters and I'm gluing them down, that they all fit with the greeting that I'm putting on. So it's important to make sure it's stamped right first. The picture that's in the thumbnail, I actually added an additional greeting, but because I'm not 100% sure who I'm going to send this to yet, I'm actually leaving space down at the bottom for one of those sentiment strips from Tailored Expressions. I'm just going to fit all these on the top of the card. And I really like the way it looks with the white foam behind the black letters. The example card that I had, it was personalized for my nephew, and his school colors were black and orange. But this one I just did in black and white, just so it would be a little more generic, because I don't know anyone else that's graduating that has black and orange in the next while. So I just decided to do this one in a generic black and white, and this can be for pretty much anything that you're congratulating someone on, as opposed to just a graduation card, which the thumbnail has a little sentiment strip that says congrats graduate on it. The bar magnet from the MISTI works really well to hold down those 3 letters at one time so that the glue will dry and they won't move. When I glue these all down, I like to I start at the top and then I go working my way down on this one, just because I want to leave as much space as possible. But if I wanted to make it evenly spaced, like I show in the next example, I would go from the top to the bottom and then evenly space them in between if I wanted to make sure everything was even. But for this card, I wanted to make sure there was enough space at the bottom for the sentiment strip. So I am working from the top down and trying to make the space as even as possible on this card to make sure that there's room for a sentiment strip when I get ready to send it to someone. Those bold letters from Altenew are such a versatile set. I love them. I've used them so many times on so many different cards already. Such a good investment. Whenever I decide on something for card making, I try to realize whether or not I'll use it enough times to make it worth its while, and so that I won't feel like I'm wasting money, because there's nothing worse than spending money on it and then realizing that you don't use it as much as you had hoped to, and there it's all glued together and I love it. Here comes the next card. I'm going to put the sentiment on this one first as well. The sentiment is, I used a partial sentiment, so I taped it off. And there I am putting purple tape on it so that we make sure we don't get ink over the parts that we don't want. Because it says love you to the moon and back, and we just want part of that on there. We don't want the moon part of the sentiment on there. We just want the words part. So I put some purple tape on there before I inked it up with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm very concerned about getting ink everywhere, so I'm very carefully moving the purple tape away from the card, and because I covered up the little rocket ship and the moon when I taped it off. And it looks good. We got a little bit of over inking, but it'll be fine. I tried to sand it off with the sand eraser, but then in the long run I just decided it was fine. It wasn't coming off with the sand eraser. All right, this I'm using my scraps. And does anyone remember the Quick Cuts die cutting system? I'm pretty sure that I've had this system since 2003 maybe, and it's a cool idea. I'm kind of disappointed that it's discontinued. It has its pros and cons, but I do have a very basic alphabet with it that's just a little bit different than the Altenew alphabet, and I do like the Quick Cut system because it's handheld and it's quicker than running your letters through one at a time when you're doing something repetitive. Like this one is going to be a Father's Day card, and so it's just quicker. You can just like move on down the line. There's the hand tool, and it does have, which I'll show later, it does have a base, so you can kind of just stand it up and push it down and use it like a giant pair of pliers. And it won't be as hard on your hand when you use the stand. So I did use that towards the end. But this one is a Father's Day card, and my kid, who was in the tub behind me, because this was some bath time crafting that I was doing here, my kid chose the green and the blue that I used, because he said Daddy would love those colors. This took me a while, so I think at some point my daughter's in here, and she says something really cute. But I had to make sure that I had enough of all the letters, and then I'm going to do the foam after I do all the blue letters and all the green letters. And there I am trying to count to make sure I have enough, because I think with this one we're going to do 5, so I had to decide which one I was going to do more of, if I was going to do more green or more blue, because these were a little bit smaller than the Altenew letters. And there I am, almost running out of the paper in the color I chose. Trying to fit in all my letters in the paper. Then I think I realized that I forgot how to count, and I had way more letters than I needed. Here comes my daughter saying some cute stuff, so let's just be quiet and listen to this.
Mommy, what that blue thing?
It cuts the paper, Regan.
And cut paper go up. And cut paper I grow up.
Oh, you want to cut paper when you grow up? Cool,
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I'm like mommy.
You want to be like Mommy when you grow up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. My daughter's adorable, and I'm so glad that I caught that on video, because that's going to be a priceless memory when she gets older. Whether or not she actually wants to cut paper when she grows up, who knows, but it's okay. I like that she says it now. All right, here we are cutting up the foam, and then we finish, and I'm deciding that my hands have had enough, because that's a lot of letters, and so I got the stand out. The foam is a little bit harder to cut with this system, with the handheld thing. Oh, and then I realized, as I'm trying to put my letters together, that I ran out of glue in my little squeezy bottle, so I'm going to fill up my little bottle with some art glitter glue. And let's see, do I make a giant mess? Because I usually do. But I did not, so yay for me this time. It was funny, because right before I started this, I was like, wow, I feel like I haven't filled up my glue for a long time. But of course I needed to then. And there's all the letters once I glued them all together. And yes, I did have extra letters. But there they are, all ready to go on the card. Some of the foam got stretched out when I was cutting it with the die cut, so I had to just trim some of it down a little bit because it didn't go back into shape after I cut it with the die cut. All right, and there I spaced them all out, and then I have to glue them all down. And then this is a cool trick that I figured out. So I have a regular T-magnet or T-ruler there, and I'm using the Misty bar magnet to hold the T-ruler in place on my make art station so that all my letters stay straight. And that's a pretty cool trick. I know that Simon Says Stamp offers a mini T-ruler that has magnets built into it. However, I have not ordered one yet, so I was pretty stoked about my little trick there with the T-ruler because it's when you're doing something like that, it's really hard to keep your T-ruler in place otherwise. So it's a pretty cool trick to stick your Misty magnet on there, and it'll just keep it in place for you. And here we are just gluing all the rest of the letters down. See, in this one I went from the bottom and then I went to the top, and then I'm alternating. So I'm going back down to the bottom and then I'll go back up to the top to glue them, just to make sure that my spacing is all even. And that I found that's the best way to get even spacing with something like this. If anybody else has any other tricks, let me know, because this is what it works for me, but I'm sure there are other cool ideas on how to space it out without, measuring and stuff, because that's not going to happen. I just kind of like to eyeball things. And we're almost done. Of course, I drop things after I glue them. Good thing the glue dries clear, because I make a mess. Well, there we go. And it's all glued down. Just gotta stick it down with a magnet for a minute. The bar magnet doesn't like to come off. It's pretty strong. So there we go. Take off the magnets, and then we can admire our handiwork. Beautiful. I love it. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.